Welcome to the deep dive. Today we have a really unique mission ahead of us.
We certainly do.
We've been given this stack of sources. It's a wild blend of high fantasy lore, some alleged historical accounts, and even personal memoir. And it all centers on the world of a hero named Marcus Allister.
That's right. And this guide isn't just about, listing events. It's about trying to understand a really complex generational conflict.
Right.
We have to cut through the mythology to really map out the lineage, the key players, and the philosophical framework that guides a hero like Marcus.
So we're essentially getting the history of three major power centers in this universe.
Yeah.
On one side, you've got the muscle, the legendary Trion Titans.
Right, a world-famous group of heroes focused mainly on defense.
And Marcus's father, Sion Allister, he was one of them.
He was. The Titans were the elite unit, sure, but they operated with some serious auxiliary support. You can think of these other groups as specialized military regiments.
So Ewan's specific unit was the Blood Barons?
Exactly. Then you also had the higher monarchs who were deployed globally and the desert operators, the dune prowlers.
And then bridging the gap between, brute force and this cosmic purpose, we have the Sion Trinity.
Yes. And this organization, it sort of sits above all the political and military stuff.
They're different.
Very different. Marcus identifies them as a society of intellectuals, devout followers given a divine charge. They're not frontline soldiers. They're the guardians of metaphysical order.
He has a great description for them.
He does. He calls them, almost functionally, the first of the kinds of Ghostbusters of our present.
I love that. So they're highly educated, trained to seek out and manage occult evils.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, with the roots of this legacy. Marcus's entire worldview seems anchored in this thing called the Soulmonger War.
A conflict he only witnessed secondhand.
Right, through a really powerful sort of observer-like dream of his father's past.
And this is the old guard, right? This is sword and strategy conflict.
Right.
The sources give us the geography of the operation. Other Titan platoons were spread out, but Ewan and the Blood Barons, they were assigned to the southern countries of Asia.
Specifically Thailand, where they spent months.
That's right.
So the initial problem, that sounds kind of manageable. Reports of low-level trouble from these things called soulmongers along the Andaman Sea coastline, but then it escalates fast.
It does. And we need to be clear on what these soulmongers were.
They weren't just bandits.
Not at all. They were beings driven by malice, pillaging villages. But the truly dangerous part, well, that was the commander's ability. This enemy wasn't just killing people, he was weaponizing despair.
A battle not against physical strength, but against the erosion of hope. That adds a whole psychological layer to it.
It's terrifying. The commander had the power to turn anyone who was already at a deep, fundamental loss of hope into a soulmonger.
So in an impoverished region,
It's the perfect recruitment tool. The Blood Barons, led by Ewan, they find a village totally destroyed and realize their plan for a discreet night attack has to be swift.
before the commander can just build an unstoppable army from the newly converted.
Precisely. They tracked the leader to a nearby cave, but he was ready for a quick escape. And in this context, his escape was way more dangerous than any fight.
Because he could just start over somewhere else.
In a matter of hours, he'd already leveraged the region's misery to build a whole new transformed force. So the Blood Barons suddenly face this terrible moral dilemma.
They have to incapacitate these people.
People who were victims first.
Without just, executing them all. And this is where the Titans' specialized resources come into play, right? They didn't win this just by defending.
They didn't. The commander was finally ambushed by Jack from the dune prowlers.
The desert guys.
Yeah, he arrived from a completely separate mission in the Xinjiang desert. This kind of cross-platoon coordination is what finally secured the enemy leader.
Okay, so they capture him.
They do. They take away his transformation weapon and lock him in a hidden prison.
But here's the part that really complicates the heroic narrative. The source material explicitly notes that the commander was assassinated shortly after his capture.
That detail just stops you cold, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that even among these world-famous heroes, there was an immediate, ruthless calculation of risk.
Locking him up just wasn't enough. The risk of his power being reactivated or him escaping and weaponizing despair all over again, it led to his immediate and very quiet execution.
Wait a second. So the father of the future guardian of the Sion Trinity, an organization dedicated to shining light and upholding order, he was involved in what sounds like a covert military execution.
It doesn't quite square up, does it?
Not at all. It feels less like high fantasy heroism and more like grim, morally gray intelligence work.
And that raises a huge question about the practical limits of maintaining order. The Titans were defenders, sure, but sometimes defense requires, well, preemptive, messy action.
So maybe this event, where the solution was an assassination, maybe that's the very reason you and Alistair eventually sought out the Sion Trinity.
It could be searching for a higher, less compromising form of order than the kind of tactical violence his team was forced to use.
That makes sense. That past conflict, then, defined by physical defense against weaponized despair, it leads us right to the current threat.
The weaponization of pure public terror.
Let's transition to the current crisis, the horrifying event that was captured on video for the whole world to see.
This is the arrival of the Deathwalkers, and our main antagonist, Vincent, is introduced here.
Okay.
Just to ground this in some classic lore for you, Vincent is a cold-blood Deathwalker. He's basically one of the first alpha vampires in this lore, tied to the classic Nosferatu lineage through his son Alucard.
And the sources even connect him to historical terror, suggesting he might be Jack the Ripper.
Right, due to similar patterns. But this attack was brutally modern. It was televised and instantly global.
It was a declaration.
It was a spectacle. The ancient threat was discreet. This one was for an audience. The footage, which was deemed unfit for television, but of course went viral, it captured Vincent's chilling movement. He seemed to, float, not walk.
Moving with this impossible stillness.
Yeah.
And he targets a red-headed reporter, someone who seems to symbolize, ambition, the rising executive class.
Yeah, this wasn't a random street attack. It felt targeted.
A demonstration.
An immediate demonstration of psychic dominance. He never physically touches her at first. He just uses whispers to invade her mind, forcing instant submission.
She just drops the mic, completely under his control.
Eyes glazed over. And the cameraman's reaction, that's what sealed his fate. He moved.
And that was met with a devastating psionic mind blast.
Slammed him against a wall, then the physical attack followed. Vincent crushes his throat and rips out his jugular, all of it on camera.
The blend of powers there is what's so critical. It's the brute, ancient bloodlust combined with this modern psionic capability.
But the most horrifying part, the part that really cemented the Deathwalkers as a unique threat, was the forced transformation that came next.
Vincent bites the girl. And that shock, it actually snaps her out of the mind control for a second.
She screams. She realizes what's happening to her own body.
And Vincent, speaking with that heavy Transylvanian accent, he forces her participation.
He says, "Bite me, my sweet, if you wish to live. Drink of my blood and become one of us." He compels her to drink his blood, completing the cycle.
And the camera captures her internal struggle, the terror, fighting against this sudden, agonizing bloodthirst.
This is brutal.
And the source material is explicit here. This one televised act of violence and forced submission, right on the cusp of the Dark Kaiser Wars, was the moment that pushed Marcus's father, Ewan, to fully commit himself to the Sion Trinity.
The global scale of the terror just required a spiritual defense. The old ways weren't enough.
The threat wasn't just physical anymore. It was existential. It was designed to undermine any faith in global security.
And the Sion Trinity became Ewan's answer to that chaos.
So let's dive deeper into that answer. The Sion Trinity is where the philosophy of this whole world really lives. What are their core mandates?
Well, they're deep intellectuals. They don't just wield power, they study it. They follow the three. And their charge is to seek out evil and shine light to keep order.
Okay, keep order.
But the core tenet, the one that really defines Marcus's burden, is the balance of harmony.
See, this is where it gets complicated for me. If they're seeking out evil, how can their ultimate philosophy demand balance and harmony?
Because the universe, in their view, it demands a natural order where good and evil coexist. The source material is very clear. This coexistence doesn't mean you give up free will.
It's more of an acknowledgement.
It's acknowledging that all lives are, shards of a whole, all seeking truth. They aren't trying to eliminate evil entirely. They're trying to manage the disruption of balance caused by extreme actions.
That is a fundamental challenge to the whole hero narrative. It suggests that just eliminating a villain might be as disruptive as the villain's own actions if it throws the system out of whack.
Exactly. And this brings us right to Marcus Alistair. He's not just a Titan's son. He defines himself in a very unique way.
He identifies himself as Nephilim.
Part human, part angel. And this gives him a truly unique perspective, one that lets him redefine the very concept of his enemies.
And this is the philosophical bomb the source material drops, Marcus's definition of demons.
Right. He says they are merely fallen angels who have loved God's creation too much.
That phrase, loved creation too much, that completely reframes the entire conflict. It changes it from a fight against malice to a fight against, what, destructive passion?
Or misplaced devotion?
Love too much. That suggests the intention is fundamentally good, but the execution is just catastrophically disruptive to the universal order.
And if a demon's goal is just devotion, then how can Marcus, as a Sion guardian charged with maintaining order, truly consider them evil?
It's a huge problem.
The Sion Trinity has to wrestle with the distinction between intent and effect. Marcus says himself, the demon's intentions are good,
Right, it's so they say.
if the effect of their too much love is mass death and weaponized despair, then their good intentions are, frankly, irrelevant to the requirement of order.
So Marcus Allister's burden is walking that tightrope. He's fighting forces that may genuinely believe they're serving a higher, loving purpose,
While at the same time preventing them from destroying the very structure of reality. He's not just killing monsters, he's correcting a cosmic imbalance that's driven by extreme passion.
It's an incredible weight to carry.
And his role as the last surviving guardian of Sion is that complex. He carries the mandate of order, but with the deep understanding that his enemy is often just a mirror of extreme, misplaced virtue.
So he has to apply the principles of the Sion Trinity intellect and light to the physical hunt.
Which brings us right to his current mission, aiding the Death Hunter Corps and continuing the hunt for that Deathwalker Alpha Vincent.
He's using the metaphysical knowledge from the Sion Trinity to track a very physical, very public threat.
Marcus represents the synthesis of this entire history. You've got the tactical lineage of the Titans, the moral complexity of his father's past, and the deep, nuanced philosophy of the Sion Trinity.
He has to use the sword and the mind
to contain threats that are now global, psychological, and, potentially driven by a distorted form of love.
It's such a compelling trajectory, tracking the lineage from Ewan to Marcus. We've seen this world shift so profoundly, from discrete, sword-based conflicts against forces weaponizing local despair,
where the solutions sometimes involve an assassination,
to the modern age of psionically driven terror broadcast globally, demanding a philosophical solution.
And the challenge for you, the listener, is to recognize that pattern. This family is consistently charged with maintaining a very precarious order against forces that exploit fundamental human states.
Soulmongers leverage despair.
And the Deathwalkers exploit terror and ambition. Marcus has to fight the manifestation of chaos while still believing in the overarching cosmic requirement for balance.
And that balance keeping is the key insight you have to explore further. The Sion Trinity's mission is to bring light to keep order, but Marcus suggests that demons might have good intentions, having simply loved creation too much. If balance is truly required for the universe to flow, what happens when those charged with maintaining order encounter a force of evil that genuinely claims to be driven by love?
What are the practical consequences of a passion so intense it becomes destructive?
Is Marcus Allister truly upholding order, or is he just fighting one extreme passion with his own extreme commitment to stability? That is the line he has to walk every single day.